Hello, and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be reacting to and breaking down Evil, Season 2, Episode 9. U is for U.F.O. So, jumping right in, we begin our case meeting Captain Sampson, who is an Air Force pilot that believes she has encountered an identified flying object, or in this case, a USA, which refers to an unmanned aircraft system. When giving her account, Captain Sampson says that the craft operated in a way that known avionics do not. For example, flying in Mach 10 with no sonic boom. I think they'd said Mach 10 was like faster than the speed of sound or the speed of light. It was something to that effect. It was dramatic anyway. But the most intriguing part of her experience is that the craft seemed to fly through the captain's plane. She felt nothing but joy and peace afterwards. The effects also showed up on her blood pressure. I guess she had something like hypertension, and the effects of this were long lasting, to the point where even when she's being interviewed, these effects are still affecting her. Her blood pressure is normal where it used to be high. Her hypertension is gone, all that kind of stuff, right? She comes to the church because she thinks she might have gotten up close and personal to an angel. And as Bishop Marks tells Ben, David, and Kristen, the church is keeping an open mind. Ben it was either Ben or Kristen kind of mocked him for believing this whole UFO thing. And Marx is like, listen, Linda, listen. Keeping an open mind. Even David's kind of like, really, guy? Aliens, really? So he assigns the team to assess her credibility. Kristen talks to her commanding officer, who says that the only thing the pilots saw was a commercial satellite launch. After some internet message board back and forthing, Ben travels to Syracuse to meet, I think it's pronounced Asha. Asha? I'm so bad with names. She's a teenage witness who saw the same thing as the captain. She saw it from the ground, obviously. Although she admits that she was super high. She was smoking a fuck ton of weed when her incident happened. She's like, oh yeah, this great feeling and blah, blah, blah. But I was stupid high at the time, FYI. Though Kristen initially reports that the captain isn't to be believed, she later reconsiders. Her thinking being that, what if the fact that the captain is female in a male-dominated organization, right? Like an all-boys club type situation. What if that contributed to her story being, ignored? It's a woman's hysteria, or she's emotional, or all that kind of shit, right? And when she checks with a neighbor who works for the company that alleged to launch the satellite, Kristen learns that there was no such launch that day. And after Ben makes a connection with another Air Force pilot who seems to know something, he gets his hands on footage of Captain Sampson's encounter. The video seems to show an object flying erratically. And at one point, right before it disappears, there's like a cross on it. You can see it's doing this weird sort of spinny, rotaty thing, kind of like this, right? Like it goes this way, but at the same time, it's kind of going this way. And at some point, literally just before it disappears, it slows or stops moving just enough that you can see there's like this like white cross. It's very defined in the middle of this thing. It's never mentioned. It's never mentioned. I'm just gonna put it out there. And as he shares this with Bishop Marks, the rectory is just crawling with Vatican representatives, asking questions of Samson. Their main interest sort of seeming to be something about smells. Ben that leans into David. I misspoke. Ben leans into David. He's like, dude, right? And to David's knowledge, nothing like this has happened before. Apparently, the Vatican is really interested in the concept of alien civilization because of what they might bring in the sense of the idea of original sin. Example being, if other beings exist, are they free of sin? Or, as one of the priests puts it, are we missionaries asked to share the gospel? And then Kristen, of course, makes this comment because he you know, Marx is going on about, you know, this whole concept of original sin, and, you know, he brings up the native peoples and you know, the white man bringing God to, you know what I mean? Like that whole thing. And Kristen's like, yeah. And, you know, bringing Christianity to, you know, other peoples, that worked out real well, didn't it? Like, Kristen. Eventually, we are introduced to a suit-wearing gentleman named Edgar Loudermilk? Names. He shows up in Kristen's driveway to tell her that what she saw in the video was Russian technology that the government was trying to thwart. AKA, ma'am, you and your fellow assessors have stumbled upon a secret U.S. operation to uncover confidential foreign technology. Like, back the fuck off. Like, he even waits for the train to come by outside her place to, like, muffle him talking. It's all very cloak and dagger. And he ends the encounter with, your government is kindly asking you to stand down in further investigating this flight. Then another Vatican guy named Victor shows up, and from his sort of, he's got like a weird demeanor to him, but David sort of guesses that this Victor works for the entity or the Vatican Secret Service, okay? Victor tells David, Kristen, and Ben that they and Captain Samson and the student are going to Rome for more questioning, but they have to sign a confidentiality agreement, and in doing so, David notices an RSM fertility brochure in the man's briefcase. That is the fertility clinic that Kristen went to for, oh, I forget the kid's name, but the one that's got the teeth, the fangs. Lily? Is it Lily? Ooh, the little one. Anyways, but when he mentions this when he mentions that Victor wanted him to see the pamphlet, the man says, I have no idea what you're talking about. Like, he says to him flat out, like, do you have something to do with this fertility clinic? And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about, man. Closes up his briefcase, which we see the fucking pamphlet in it, and just leaves. Like, the audacity. But then, all of a sudden, Captain Sampson and the student, I can't pronounce her name, I'm sorry, change their stories and say that they were lying. So Victor packs up and leaves, only pausing long enough to tell David that the entity isn't going after the fertility clinic, and that he suggests David drop the matter. Like, everybody just drop it. Just stop, drop, and roll. When the team follows up with the witnesses, Captain Sampson basically says she reversed her account so that she could get off desk duty. Girl just wants to fly her planes, okay? And our student flat out tells Ben that the church promised her entry to Massachusetts. I can't pronounce it. You know what I mean. Technology, Institute of Technology. It's MIT. Okay. I can't pronounce Massachusetts. Is that it? MIT. They guarantee her entrance into MIT the following year in exchange for her silence, basically. Recant your story and here's your education, honey. Right? Throughout all of this, Kristen's got a lot going on at home. She and Andy have decided to shut down their climbing business, right? They talked about that in the previous episode. Which means he'll have to go to Colorado one more time for a month to wrap up the loose ends of the business. And they meet up with Kurt. That's Dr. Boggs. I couldn't remember his name last time. Dr. Boggs. For a session to discuss how Kristen has changed in the time that Andy had been away. We find out that a video had been taken of Kristen's little freak out in the grocery store where she beat a man with a bag of French fries, and I thought that was fucking awesome. But it went viral. And they do sort of discuss it at Dr. Boggs' office. Kristen says, I don't deny that I've changed. And she attributes the attitude adjustment to, her work's effect on her. But she wouldn't take it back. She says, now when I've been wronged, I blame the person who wronged me, not myself. She feels this is an improvement upon her character, right? She also says that she's acting in a way that she would want her daughters to also act, right? She sees it as standing up for yourself, protecting yourself, that kind of thing, right? Which is funny because Cheryl shows the girls the video of the grocery store incident and makes a point of mentioning that their father didn't do anything to stick up for their mom. Didn't say anything, didn't do anything, right? Kristen was the one who took the initiative and handled the situation all by herself, okay? And then Laura ends up getting in trouble at school for calling her teacher a fucking liar. Because the teacher, like she said, she's showing kids in class this video saying that it's her mom. And the teacher's like, that's not your mom. Like, stop it. It's not your mom. Your mom wouldn't act like that. Laura's like, fuck you, that's my mom. My mom's a badass. Meanwhile, David is trying to meditate one night when Leland shows up in a tearful panic. And it's, listen, you know how much I love Leland. He's great. He is great. He is there crying and whining to David about a winged monster tried to tear him apart when he wore his rosary to bed one night. David tosses him out, but is disturbed by how much Leland sketched, because he does this little drawing. This quick little stick drawing. But it looks very, very similar to the sketch of Michael that he had done earlier in the season. He compares the two, and there is quite a similarity to them. And on another occasion, David meditates to Georgian chants that slowly become distorted, leading him to have a disturbing vision of like flashings of like stabbings and maggots and, you know, all of that sort of culminating into basically sort of seeing himself and Kristen getting to know each other biblically. Ben later finds a planted piece of tech in David's laptop, because when David comes out of this meditation state, whatever, he keeps hearing something in his laptop. Like he closes it and he can still hear something, and then he kind of flips it upside down and puts his ear to it, and he can hear. I wasn't wearing headphones this time. Sometimes I wear headphones, sometimes I don't. This time I wasn't. I could barely hear, but there was definitely something going on with that laptop. And Ben is our resident tech guy, so. He takes a look at David's laptop, and it has a pentagram etched into one of the, I don't know if it's like the video card or whatever, but it's like a rectangular piece that's in the laptop. Working off the idea that somebody, mainly Leland, put it there, the two fake some footage of David in his room that Ben will loop in order to make Leland think they're not on to him. But David makes note, like maybe Leland's been kind of doing the same thing to us, right? Ben's kind of like, didn't think of that. I think his facial expressions are funny. I like Ben. Ben's hilarious. Even when he doesn't mean to be, Ben is funny. Kristen eventually hangs back in David's room after a meeting with him and Ben. She explains that she's skipping a session with Dr. Boggs because she had texted him wanting another session, like an emergency session with him. She's feeling all out of sorts, right? She wants to work things out. She needs to talk to Dr. Boggs. Which leads into a discussion of why she's so angry all the time, right? Everyone's awful, she says. Though she loves her daughters, and like you, and I tolerate Ben. So she likes David. She loves her daughters. She likes David. She tolerates Ben. Which I think is like the most craziest thing to say, because the two of them work, like her and Ben work well off each other, right? Like they do little digs at Marks, and they're the ones that sit in the back of the class and make fun of the teacher together. Like that's kind of their relationship. So I'm surprised that she would say something like that. And I just want to also make mention, she doesn't mention her husband at all in this conversation, whether she can stand him or not. Like he is just not in that conversation at all. He's not even a footnote. Just saying. When she asks why David's becoming a priest, and he goes through his, he tells us that, 5 years ago, things were really wild. Well, up until 5 years ago, his life was wild, right? He kind of lived the way his father lived, right? The whole sex, drugs, and rock and roll kind of thing. Whereas his mom was the one that was devout and whatever. And so the last 5 years, he's kind of switched over to more trying to follow his mom's kind of way of, happy life sort of deal, right? Through the church rather than through self-gratification, I guess. And Kristen says, so like when this girl Julia died was sort of when he changed his ways, and he was kind of like, yeah. And how, he says that's when he found that science didn't really explain life for him, right? It didn't do it for him anymore. It didn't give him all the answers that he sought. So flipping over to, what Julia would have wanted and what his mom wanted for him, he thought would give him more than, living the life that he saw his father living and that he himself had lived, right? Ben says, people do bad. People are bad. Did I say Ben? I meant David. They try not to reveal it because Americans are obsessed with purity. They can't even let on that something is wrong, he says. The real solution for this is forgiveness. People apologizing. And when Kristen goes to leave, he stands and pulls her in for a hug. It's a lingering hug. And she even sort of cradles him. Like, when you hug somebody, like, you just kind of hug them, right? Like around the shoulders or around the waist, whatever. She goes up around the neck. Yeah. It's that kind of hug. She says to him, don't be a priest. Adding that, she says she will miss him when he does become a priest. And he says, I'll still be here. And she leaves. That, to me, sounds dark. When she says, I'll miss you. Right? Like, don't be a priest, I'll miss you. That to me felt very dark. I don't know why, I can't explain it. But to me, it felt very dark. At home, Kristen crawls into bed and apologizes to Andy. She says, be patient with me. And he holds her. On another day, David, Ben, and Kristen had gathered to drink and play with some, that the smelly thing that the Vatican investigators had brought over for the pilot. And that's when David decides that he's going to go after RSM fertility, even if the church isn't. Kristen and Ben say that they're on board, and the three toast to their next round of poking the bear. And then, of course, we have to get back to Leland and his rosary story, okay? So he is in session with his demon goat therapist, which I've been wondering about. I was very happy to see him. He's sitting there in all his hooved glory, acting the mental health professionalist and all. It's great. But he seems to doubt. He seems to doubt Leland's devotion. He asks for blood, which Leland tries to get from Cheryl. Okay, but she's too busy for his shit. She just tells him to fuck off, basically. She's actually busy making sacrifices to Robert. She's burning the dollar bills. She's trying to get some shit done. Okay. So Leland goes back and he ends up taking off the demon's head. Okay, he decapitates his psychologist. It's freaking hilarious. He is so upset that he can't get. He wants him to bring human blood, right, to prove that he's, down with the mission, and he's not wavering or cracking or turning to the other side, or there's none of that shit, right? Like, he is 100% down with the devil, right? And when Cheryl says no, he's like, fuck. So he goes to therapy. And, he's asked about the blood, and he's like, well, he just kind of lops off, it's, oh my God. I wasn't expecting it, I gotta say. It was totally out of left field, but I mean, he's like laughing. I mean, it shows his crazy, because he's like laughing and rubbing the blood on his face, and it's nuts. It's nuts. It's nuts. But he also goes back to Cheryl and coaxes her into coming over to his place. And she's like, oh, what are we going to do? Start a B&B or whatever? And he's like, that would be fun. But no. So she ends up coming in. He's like, he's going to make her dinner, right? So he goes into the kitchen. And she's asking what kind of wine should she pop open, right? He's like, open up some wine. She's like, what do you want, red or white? We want red. And while he's in there, God damn it, he is cooking up the demon. I shit you not. He is cooking up that demon, and he and Cheryl are going to dig down on some demon meat. Holy shit. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. That was an interesting episode, I must say. I'm glad that we're bringing the fertility clinic back in, because I thought we were gonna lose that in all the hoopla. Also the demon therapist, because listen, I love all the demons, okay? They're awesome. We need more demons. Just saying. We have Sister Andrea with us now. We need more demons. They're great. They are great. And I can't believe that Leland killed his therapist. I mean, listen. Leland was super funny in the one where he was exorcised. I think it was 2 episodes ago now. So it's nice to see him getting back to his creepy, right? Still kind of, he makes me smile. But not laughing. 2 episodes ago, I was out loud laughing at Leland. He was so funny during the exorcism. It was hilarious. This one, I mean, you can't help but kind of smile at him because he's so... But he was creepy as fuck. I mean, he's nuts. He's crazy. He's dangerous. We forget that, I think, sometimes. I do. I forget sometimes. But anyways, I thoroughly enjoyed this episode. I thought it was a good time. I liked the conspiracy end of it. I liked... Yeah, it was good. And we're starting to get somewhere with Kristen and her weirdness. I would like to know how that... I believe it's somehow connected to Cheryl, who's always been weird, but now, she's got totems, and she's... there's Robert. Like, it's just... Right? So, I want to know what that's all about. But I think that they're somehow connected. And it has to have something to do with Leland, too, right? Like, anyways... I just want to know more. I want to know more. This was good. I enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed my breakdown. I'm starting to ramble, so I'm going to go. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you in the next one.